Welcome to Crossing the Valley of Death. Now, just as a review, I want to let you all know what anthropology is. Anthropology is a study of human beings in all places and all times. And I have the distinct pleasure of being a business anthropologist. And so I was interested in finding out what are the cultural aspects, the human part of starting up a business. Now, a business anthropologist is this cool mix. It's like Indiana Jones and Bones and Dilbert all in this cool kind of mixed up thing. And so it's like the greatest research ever. And what I was interested in finding out is more about the startup process. Now, by a show of hands, who has ever been involved in life or is currently involved in a startup? Either running it, okay, so a lot of fools out there. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so startups are different from other kinds of business enterprises in that they operate under conditions of extreme uncertainty. So if you're General Motors and you've been out there for a very, very long time, you know what you're going to be selling and who you're going to be selling it to. And even entrepreneurial communities like entrepreneurial companies like Google, Twitter, and all those, they're doing kind of interesting things, innovating all the time, but they know pretty much who they're selling to and what it is they're selling. Startups have just a hypothesis of what it is they're doing. And they consider themselves to be on a journey between starting the company and figuring out who their customer is and what kind of sustainable, repeatable value they're going to be able to offer. And so this is a depiction. When I was out there doing my anthropologist thing, I saw this diagram, okay? And so what you really need to get is there's two big elements about the startup process. There's money and there's time. And so in the beginning, startups have very little money. They have a lot of time, but very little money, no sales, and they're really trying to get to a point where they have a lot of money. All right, but again, they have no sales, so really, it's a journey of faith. And for high-tech, high-growth companies in particular, their first sales are going to come from people who will stand in line for anything, for that next new gadget. And so they have to make a leap between those innovators and like the wider market. And that leap is called crossing the chasm. And so the companies that have not yet crossed that chasm, they're going through something called the Valley of Death. And that's the title of this. And so the companies in Detroit that I studied were all going through that Valley of Death. And so there's a couple of activities that are involved in the cultural side of starting up a company. And one of those activities is organizing. And there's one basic truth that you really got to get about organizing. Whether you're a big company or a small company, the company itself is intangible. If you're General Motors, if you're Apple, if you're just that startup around the way, you cannot put your business in a box. It's a concept, it's an idea. And so a lot of what's going on around startups is putting artifacts or material objects around that idea. It's a business plan, it's a business card. And the most dynamic artifact around that business concept is the entrepreneur themselves. Now, a lot of times the line is blurred between the business concept and that entrepreneur. And so really it's about pitching that company. And one of the activities, again, around starting up is the pitch, the elevator pitch. You typically on a stage like this, you have a really big screen and you're out there putting grand ideas. It's very much a matter of you embodying the business concept. You are, in a sense, your business. It is very much a process of mashing up between yourself, your body, the way you represent it to a larger idea and a larger audience. And so there's a specific code about the way that you do a business pitch, especially in high-tech, high-growth companies. You got to do the college casual thing. It's the T-shirts, it's the jeans, but you can't let the jeans go back, down a little bit to your waist. You can't show your underwear. That's a different kind of code. You can't do that. And I actually heard the phrase, "We make customer service dead fucking simple." I heard this in my research. But you wouldn't hear, "We make customer service dead motherfucking simple." It was just a little bit too hardcore. So really, this pitch thing, it's almost sacred in startup communities. And in fact, one of the people who was the master of the pitch, Steve Jobs, who we heard a little bit earlier, it really was about creating magic, about transcending themselves, transcending their business concept to something much greater and much wider. And so I'm not only an anthropologist, a business anthropologist, but I'm also a startup entrepreneur. My company is called Good Sweat, It's a social fundraising platform for people who run, walk, move for a cause for charitable sports participants. And I know what it's like to go through the valley of death. And what I'm asking you to do is embrace change, keep the faith, and make some magic. Thank you all so much for your time.